Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.
When a tier 1 recruiter comes to the campus, whether it is my B school or somebody else's B school, it is going to look at tier 1 students. Okay. Now, if there is a particular student, let's say academically who is not very strong, okay, because these are the kind of companies which are going to look at probably a first division all throughout, or maybe 65% and above all throughout, whether it is 10th, 12th, graduation, whatever it is.
B-School is a space that is a mix of both academics and corporate exposure. They both go hand in hand, and for any successful long-term career, it is an absolute must. Keeping that in mind, we have with us today Dean of Academics, Professor Sanghamitra Buddhapriya, and Dean of Corporate Relations, Professor Rajneesh Chauhan from FORE School of Management, to take us through to why it's so important to choose a B school that gives importance to both the aspects. So, Professor Sanghamitra, to begin with, more than 2 decades of experience that you have on your shoulders, and you are associated with over 16 years with FORE. What are the few things that you have noticed that has changed in that entire MBA space that we talk about?
One important thing, all of you would agree with me, which has taken place is the way the technology has driven the world. So as a result of which, the industry expectations have gone up, and recruiters are looking for candidates who not only have the domain knowledge and right kind of attitude, but also have good insight in the current and future technology. Okay? And to meet these expectations, we always keep on kind of reviewing our curriculum and pedagogy. Over the years, we have been using case-based methodology in teaching. We have been using, your experiential learning, design thinking, simulation, etc. more and more. And another good thing which has been happening is that the attitude of students towards the MBA programs is also changing. Okay? So now students, they're taking up their live projects, their internship more seriously. They're trying to connect themselves with the industry experts.
Another aspect that we discussed earlier when we started, apart from academics, is the corporate connect that you build, right? And you are responsible for it because you are the Dean of Corporate Relationships. And, how important do you think it becomes for a student who is pursuing their MBA to network?
In professional life of an MBA, yes, networking is surely one of the more important things. In fact, if you were to go to the Harvard Business School website, you will have networking as one of the top 10 skills mentioned over there. Currency of networking is actually not greed, but generosity. It starts with that. Okay. So having taken a cognizance of all these things, the importance, so on and so forth, at FORE, we do realize the importance of network, and we give ample opportunities to students to network with their stakeholders, be it the alumni, the corporates, in the institutions, to members of the society, so on and so forth. And we ensure that this particular networking happens formally also and informally also.
You have worked in different segments. You have worked in IT, ERP, consulting, operations management. I mean, the possibilities are endless that you have explored. With this much of experience on the back of your shoulder, what do you think, what has come out as something that is an absolute must for a MBA student who is planning to do an MBA and trying to make a future career out of it?
If you go down to Harvard Business School site, they will list 10 skills over there. If you go down to World Economic Forum, they will list another 10 skills out over there. But then, having said that, probably my favorite still would be critical thinking. And there are a couple of reasons why I say so. One is, critical thinking is actually future-proof. The reason I say so is future-proof is nobody can predict the future, even if the future turns upside down. Fact remains that critical thinking is still going to be required. There is no way that you can actually outsource your thinking to somebody else. Okay, so this is extremely important, and this is something that you need to develop it within yourself.
You put a great deal of emphasis on, mentoring, diversity, and gender issues. How have you been incorporating these things in the pedagogy of FORE?
We provide mentoring support to our students at various levels, be it is from the corporates, be it from the alumni, from the faculty, or from the peer students or their seniors. And similarly, we we try to bring kind of regional diversity as well as gender diversity, and we have been maintaining it. If you look at our kind of students pool, you'll find that we are getting students from almost all states of the country. Similarly, women students, they constitute somewhere between around 40%.
How important does it become? So, for example, in a batch where an engineer is also there, an art student is also there, an architect is also there, and people from different diverse sectors are also there. How important is this culmination of human pool or talent is when we're talking about a B school?
So we also here at FORE, what we do when we develop our sections, we develop them very thoughtfully, keeping these things in mind. Like, it is not that all engineers together. So in every kind of sections, you will find that there is an appropriate combinations of engineers, students from commerce, and other backgrounds are also there. So that help in building different perspective to the same problem, because in management education, we believe that problem solving abilities are very important, and when you try to solve a problem also, you try to look into different perspectives.
Professor Rajneesh, a student who walks into a B school, the first thing that comes to their mind is, what is the kind of role am I going to get from here? And, the summer internships that come in as the first entrance to the corporate world is something that they look out for. I would like to know, at FORE, what are the kind of companies that come in to pick up students in their summer internships or in the final placements, and what are the other routes through which students actually interact with the companies and the corporate world?
Neutral agencies like NRF, they actually hold the placements out of FORE in good stead. NRF ranking, there is this parameter called graduation outcome, and FORE incidentally happens to be 26th on that. And graduation outcome is all about placements, the batch place, the median salary, so on and so forth, right? And 26 national is an extremely good number for a B school to have it getting pegged in terms of final placement. So we are much better to that extent in terms of, many of the newer IIMs also, many of the newer IITs also, okay? So to be very frank, placements have generally been good. In fact, had it not been for this year of COVID, the year before that, we had almost 11 international offers across 6 countries. For what kind of companies are actually coming over here at FORE? Well, you name a tier 1 company and it's actually coming over here. And let me give some names by the industry sector. If I have to talk about FMCG, whether it is HUL, whether it happens to be Asian Paints, whether it happens to be Reckitt Benckiser, ITC, Nestle, all of them come over here, right? And likewise, if I were to talk about automobiles, whether it is Hyundai, Maruti, Mahindra, Tata Motors, so on and so forth, all of them make a beeline for the campus. Talk about consulting, whether it is PwC, whether it is KPMG, whether it is Deloitte, whether it is Accenture, all of them are out over here. Talk about technology sector, the IT-enabled sector, whether it is Infosys, HCL, Wipro, Cognizant, so on and so forth, all of them come over here. There's a pitfall to placements also, and let us be very open about it, okay?
Right.
The kind of companies which I spoke about, all of them are tier 1 recruiters. Mm-hmm. When a tier 1 recruiter comes to the campus, whether it is my B school or somebody else's B school, it is going to look at tier 1 students, okay? Now, if there is a particular student, let's say academically who is not very strong, okay? Because these are the kind of companies which are going to look at probably a first division all throughout, or maybe 65% and above all throughout, whether it is 10th, 12th, graduation, whatever it is. So the pitfall of a tier 1 recruiter and having lots of tier 1 recruiters in a B school is that probably all the students need to be extremely careful about this particular thing.
Moving on, Professor Sanghamitra, I'll come to you. I am interested to join the thriving B school culture of FORE. What are the kind of qualities I need to absolutely have in me so that, I can get in?
That the expectations of B schools while hiring kind of candidates have really gone up because of the changing business environment.
Absolutely.
See, So what we look forward from our students, the list is quite long, but I'll try to make it quite precise. One is, okay, if you must have relevant professional understanding. Okay. Then, see, we also give a lot of value to skills like ownership of self, because we have been realizing over the years that that's how your accountability is quite important. Their resilience, their ability to deal with complexities, dealing with stress, and then carrying a problem-solving ability.
Professor Rajneesh, in these kind of times, do you think it's a good time to invest in education? And if not, what should be my focus on? If yes, where should I look at?
There's no better time than these times to actually invest in education. The world is actually changing so fast. And what is relevant today is actually obsolete tomorrow. Okay. And if you have to be relevant, let's say tomorrow or day after tomorrow, you don't have an option other than to reinvent yourself. In a career span of something like 30 years, or let's say somebody who comes out of undergraduate college, and if he has a career span of 30, 35 years, he has to reinvent himself every 10 to 15 years, otherwise he's actually obsolete. Today, whether it is individuals who do not learn or the organizations that do not learn, they turn obsolete, they finish off, right? And if we have to transition to a future workforce, and given the fact that future cannot be predicted, you also know that, I also know that, right? So no matter what I teach you today, it's going to be obsolete tomorrow, right? So having said that, invest in education now also, and be ready to invest in education a couple of years down the line also. It is going to be a continuous process.
Any last piece of advice for students, that you want to convey?
When it comes to the real life, the students, instead of putting the entire responsibility on the B school, rather I said that they have to own their own self-development.
In terms of what their core skills are, Professor Sanghamitra has already elaborated upon what is it that it takes to become a good MBA student. And if a student does not have those abilities, there's no point forcing himself into an MBA. You have got lots of master's course out over there, ranging from MBA to masters in technology to whatnot. So a student should definitely take cognizance of the fact that what his strengths are, map them with what Professor Sanghamitra said, what are the things which are actually required from an MBA student, and then take a plunge. MBA is a great career. Placements happen in B schools. They're also fantastic. But then fact remains that, as I mentioned to you, there are pitfalls also.
It's very suitable advice for people to actually look for whether they want an MBA and what is the strong area that they have, a niche in which they can carve for themselves. Thank you again. And I hope whoever is listening or watching this will, get something out of it and it will help them. Thank you.